development after the coup in 2014.
But it's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question, Mr. Foreign Minister. Do you acknowledge Russia invaded Ukraine?
I said to you that we started special military operation
So, yes.
to protect the people.
The Ukrainian Defense Forces have launched an airstrike on a command post of Russian occupiers in Soledar, Donetsk region, according to analysts from the Deep State Project. It is noted that the airstrike killed the commander of a motorized rifle brigade and 5 officers. Analysts added that more detailed information about enemy losses will likely appear later. According to War Archive analysts, the strike on the Russian command post was carried out on August 20th. They shared that this was the result of the work of the Ukrainian Air Force, the 30th Prince Ostrozhky Separate Brigade, and the Vyali Aerial Reconnaissance Team. Analysts also said that the airstrike was likely carried out by a GBU-62 precision-guided bomb designed to hit enemy ground targets. Read also. Analysts added that the Russian command post was located in a residential high-rise building in the area of the former Zirochka kindergarten. Russian blogger philologist Svyatoslav Golikov admits that Ukrainian military analyst Konstantin Mashevets is correct in describing the critical effects on the Russian army of attacks on fuel and railway systems. A few days ago, Konstantin Mashevets wrote, "I want to keep this wonderful video of the burning Russian fuel train in Zaporizhzhia playing on repeat all day long." No one needs to explain the direct connection between strikes on oil refineries, fuel railway trains, transport hubs, especially railway ones, and the capabilities of Russian troops to carry out operational and strategic maneuvers with forces and means within the framework of operational deployment of their strike groupings in certain operational directions. Someone in the main operational directorate of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine very creatively calculated the vulnerability of key points of Russian infrastructure in this regard. One could perhaps object to the notion of some special creativity in the calculations, since the indicated vulnerability was revealed by the enemy in a simple way through scientific, practical trial and error. But otherwise, everything is logical. Prioritizing key infrastructure points as targets for destruction deep in the rear is quite an obvious decision. The question is, where on our side are the creative, systemic, and non-contradictory solutions at the national, departmental, and corporate levels for effectively reducing this vulnerability? Slovakia and Hungary are still whining about the pipeline. Slovakia's Foreign Minister Juraj Blanar says his country supplies 10% of Ukraine's monthly diesel needs and warned that damaging the Druzhba pipeline risks cutting off critical fuel. "We understand Ukraine is under pressure, but this infrastructure is vital," he said, adding that Ukraine is hurting its own interests. Hungary's Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó fired back after Zelensky's Independence Day remark about friendship with Hungary, taking it as a threat. Zelensky had joked about the word Druzhba, meaning both friendship and the oil pipeline, saying its future depends on Budapest's position. But Hungary didn't catch the joke and accused Ukraine of intimidation and energy attacks. When asked by an NBC journalist whether Russia invaded Ukraine, Lavrov dodged with his usual script. "We launched a special military operation to protect people labeled terrorists by the regime." The journalist cut in. "So that's a yes." But Lavrov just kept spinning.
Development after the coup in 2014.
But it's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question, Mr. Foreign Minister. Do you acknowledge Russia invaded Ukraine?
I said to you that we started special military operation
So, yes.
to protect the people whom the regime declared terrorists and enemies and whom the regime was...
Never mind, Lavrov. They have bigger worries now. Ukraine just unveiled new long-range Neptune cruise missile with larger size and new design. The first official video of the long Neptune cruise missile has appeared online. The missile has increased dimensions and a slightly modified design. The footage shows the missile in full size, allowing for a superficial comparison with the standard R-360 Neptune anti-ship missile. The most noticeable change is the increased size. This is due to the use of a larger amount of fuel and likely explosives, which has resulted in an increased diameter and length of the missile. Since the declared range of the missile is 1,000 kilometers, the claim about the increased fuel capacity is accurate, as it ensures a significant extension of flight range at cruising speed. Meanwhile, the missile's nose section has changed, likely due to the enlargement of the warhead and the missile's guidance system. As previously reported, a representative of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, speaking on condition of anonymity in August 2023, told the war zone that the long Neptune could be launched from the same launcher as the earlier anti-ship version of that cruise missile, R-360 Neptune. Additionally, they reported that the missile had received an updated guidance system. An improved satellite positioning system was installed for navigation during the cruise phase of flight. Meanwhile, in the final phase of flight, guidance is carried out using an infrared homing system. Ukrainian engineers chose a path of rapid modernization, so the missile did not undergo major changes. It is noticeable that the control surfaces have been enlarged, which improved maneuverability due to the missile's increased overall weight. In March 2025, it was reported that Ukraine's defense sector had increased the range of the Neptune cruise missile. The Ukrainian missile is now capable of striking at 1,000 kilometers. At that time, it was also confirmed that the long Neptune had already undergone testing and successful combat use with precise hits. The defense ministers of Ukraine and Canada have signed an agreement on the joint production of defense products. The Canadian government has already allocated initial funding. Ukrainian Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal said the agreement was aimed at deepening bilateral defense industrial cooperation and expanding or creating new production facilities in both Ukraine and Canada. It is important that today's agreements will not only simplify the creation of Ukrainian companies in Canada and promote technology exchange, but will also help supply the armed forces of Ukraine with modern weapons and equipment in the long term. This will significantly strengthen our resilience and ability to counter the Russian threat, he said. Alongside the signing, the Canadian government announced $220 million, about $160 million, in funding for drones, anti-drone systems, and electronic warfare equipment. The funds will also support investments in joint ventures between Ukrainian and Canadian defense industries, in line with the letter of intent on joint production. This assistance is part of the $1.5 billion military aid package announced by Ottawa in June 2025. At the end of June, Canadian Defense Minister David McGuinty said Canada had been considering the possibility of joint weapons and equipment production with Ukraine. The Ministry of Defense and the Canadian Armed Forces are actively considering this, McGuinty said, in response to a question about Canadian companies' potential role in joint production. He noted that Ukraine has made significant progress in drone technology, which we are looking at carefully. According to McGuinty, options under review included the so-called Danish model, in which equipment would be produced in Ukraine at Canadian expense, as well as opening joint defense enterprises in both countries. This could bring significant benefits to Canadian industry, which is why we are studying which of the approaches is the best, he said at the time.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.